Really?
Oh, my finger is burning on the cup.
We can't be cool, you know that?
Not at all.
Whenever we try, it just doesn't work.
Alright.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're gonna be talking about getting married young and what it was like and pretty much what we didn't know or expect. But as usual, before we get into the video, make sure you smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. I said algorithm.
For the YouTube algorithm?
Yes. Make sure you smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm because it really helps us out. Because maybe there's somebody out there thinking of getting married at a young age and he or she is not sure, so I'm sure they would love to see this video. Liking the videos help to push the videos further, so please smash that like button, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so over here. I think it's somewhere down here, right?
Or maybe on this side.
Yeah.
One of these sides, yeah.
Yeah, just subscribe. And yeah, let's get into the video. That's our marriage service.
It just fell down.
Alright.
Hold on, I have a question for you. Do
So,
you know what this is?
this is a marriage balloon that Sunis's mom gave to us when we got married on the day of our wedding. She was the only one that gave us a little thing. But we said that if this balloon ever gets soft, our marriage would get soft.
No, if it ever lost air. It's getting a little bit softer, but...
So what is happening with our marriage?
Come on, man. It's a thing.
I have to ask him this.
My
Look
knee.
at this picture, guys. One thing I had to ask him is, what was going through your head when we were doing this?
I don't know. I was confused.
You were confused?
Look at my face because
You look like you wanted to laugh.
Because you listen, this moment she didn't know which hand to put my finger or my ring on. And she's like, put it on the ring finger. She's like, I don't know which one. I put it on the left hand. I can't tell my left from my right. So there's a lot of laughter and just like the girl that does this, she's a strong one, right? Because she probably marries like 100 couples a day. But she was cracking up and laughing the whole entire time.
You look so handsome, Simmons.
I know what happened, right?
So one big question I have to ask you is, do you have any regrets or any like second ideas about getting married? Like when we just did it or leading up to the time when we were gonna do it. Honestly, did you feel like you were making a mistake?
At the time, I didn't feel like I was making a mistake, but I was wondering if we were rushing it because we're really young. And it was like, at that point, we knew each other for over 2 years. But the first 2 years were like, it was some good times, it wasn't some good, like sometimes weren't as good. And I just didn't know, right? Like I didn't know if I'm gonna, like we're both just gonna end up being a failure, basically, in my eyes. Because, like, yeah, failed marriage isn't the end of the world, but like, I don't know. I wasn't as confident as I am today with you.
It's time for you to ask me the question.
How did you? So in this picture that you see right here, what was going through your mind?
My mind, I was wondering which finger to put this thing on what hand.
Look at that face.
I've
right
never
there.
been married before, and I was kind of nervous too because I never wore a bra that day. And I really have a problem. I need to start wearing bras more because it's definitely, it wasn't a good look. It wasn't a good look, and I don't know why you didn't say something to me.
Because telling you to put a bra on is like telling somebody to cut their hand off, alright?
But on that day, I was really nervous.
Oh, you're wearing one now.
What, a bra?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I was nervous on our wedding day. I
Maturity.
was very, very nervous, and I was like fanning, and it was like too hectic. And the thoughts of having a failed marriage never really came to my head. I never thought that we would ever break up. I never thought that something would ever go wrong in our marriage. I never felt that way. I don't know why I didn't have reservations, but I just like, I went into it like full everything.
I was mostly that way too, but you know how I am. For me, it's like I have to think and reconsider the situation before I make a decision, and you got
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So,
Alright, so we got married 14 years ago. And it was really hard because, you know, I was married, I had a young baby, and my husband was never there because he worked in a cement factory.
Alright, let's get back on track. Alright. Let me define young for you guys, alright? So
Right.
I was 26.
Right.
And you were 22.
And I was 22. Sometimes I don't remember my age,
Yeah,
by the way.
both our birthdays recently passed at that time because you were only like a few months in and I was literally a month into my 26th.
Right.
And historically that may not be such a young age because people back in the day used to get married at like 15.
Yeah, right.
But in 2017 when we got married, it was not a very common age to get married at, I think.
Right.
I think most of our peers are still not married or they just got married later. It's kind of like, we're like the pioneers in our generation, I think.
Right. I want to start off with like the hardest thing that we faced being married so young, and I would have to say it's money, right?
Yeah.
Because we didn't have any money.
No.
We had literally nothing, zilch.
Let me tell you guys, when we first met, I used to make $10 an hour.
And I used to make nothing. So our average salary was $5 an hour.
No, at some point you did work.
Right.
You had some odd jobs at like a clothing store at the baseball stadium.
Yeah,
and pizza shop.
That's true, that's true.
Here and
I
there,
worked at that spot and you worked at, like, while you were still in college,
yeah,
right?
I was finishing up my bachelor's, so it was like an internship that turned into an actual job. And at some point my earnings went up from $10 to $12 an hour and I was like, yo.
We were balling.
This is good money now.
Mall every weekend. I remember the first time I went to the mall and you told me, no, we don't have enough money for that. I was so angry at you, like, because nobody's ever really told me no before. Like a serious no, because even if my mom said no, she'll end up saying yes later on. So many people will say I'm spoiled. And it's probably true, coming from my mom, but when Sima said no to me that day, I wanted that sweater. I was like, maybe I should consider breaking up with you.
And I was telling you, I was like, yo, this thing is like $30. That means I have to work for 3 hours to buy that sweater for you.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I don't think of it that way. It's just $30.
I don't think of money that way. I've never thought of money that way. And it's an interesting way to think of money like that. Mm-hmm. Because you're thinking about how much work you have to put in to get that thing. Yeah. And I never really thought like that. I used to be a person that really loved to save, but I wasn't really saving towards anything. Right. But money for sure was the biggest thing. Regarding money, when I met Simas, he was literally sleeping on the floor. He was sleeping on the floor on a mattress in a 1-bedroom apartment that he rented from this lady.
Well, it was a 2-bedroom apartment and I rented a bedroom from her.
Yeah, you rented a bedroom from her. So right. When I came and I was like, oh, this guy actually sleeps on the floor. But I didn't like care. Like, I just wanted to get to know you. I didn't really care like where you were sleeping or what the case was. But I remember, and the first time when I saw Simas's car, it had no front. Like, the vent was out. There was no like front part of the car, and I was like, oh my god, what's wrong with this guy? And I remember Simas, he was so cheap. But like many people will say, he was financially aware. But Simas wore the same pants every single day for almost a year when I met you.
To the point where there was a hole.
Yeah, and your phone was printing out in those pants.
That usually happens to my pants after a while.
Yeah, so he used to be so cheap, and like Simas took me to clothing stores that I've never heard of, like Farm and Mills. To whoever goes there, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to offend you, but I've never heard of these stores before. Like, wherever Simas can find the discount, he's there. Listen,
Foreman Mills, when we migrated to the US, and there's a Foreman Mills, so if anybody knows about that one, that was like the neighborhood we used to live in, right? So there used to be a supermarket called Super G, long out of business. They replaced it with Save-A-Lot, which is even worse. There's Foreman Mills.
I don't know any of these places.
Foreman Mills is like the discount of a discount of a discount, right? So you go there, like imagine if you're like a construction worker, like just starting out, or like a cleaning lady or a landscaper, you go there and you buy like 10 t-shirts for $10 or something. Because you're gonna throw them out after a month anyway.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, there's decent clothes there too, but it's just the atmosphere of it is usually not very comfortable.
And I think one of the reasons why we try so hard to actually make money or get something out of our lives is because we know what it feels like to not have anything.
Oh yeah.
So he didn't come from a rich family and I didn't come from a rich family either. So we're like scratching and like climbing to have something so that our kids could have something later on. So money was really a big issue for us.
Well, it's not really like in order of importance, but it is important, I guess. Number 2 would be living in bad areas. So
because we didn't have any money.
Right, so it's kind of like it's like a catch-22. You don't have any money, so you can't live in a nice place, and you can't live in a nice place because you don't have any money.
Right.
So the problem is, right, so a lot of people live in these areas and they're not bad people. But a lot of people, right, because I mean, we were there. We said it's mostly hardworking people that are from more difficult socioeconomic backgrounds, people that recently came to the US, people that like hit hard times. Like there's a lot of different people that really want to make an honest living, but they just can't. Yeah,
because those communities supplied, underfed, under like everything. Nobody really looks out for the good of those communities. So they just keep to stay in the same predicament that they are years after years after years.
Yeah, so like to get to from where we started, right? My parents came to Trenton, New Jersey. I don't even want to talk about why or how that happened, but they ended up there. And Trenton is one of literally the worst places, not just in New Jersey, but in the entire US. It's sort of like...
Statistically.
Eventually, I ended up making my way over to Jersey City. And for you guys that are from New York or New Jersey, you know that Jersey City has its not so great neighborhoods, and I lived in them. Eventually, when we got married, well, right before we got married, we moved to the Bronx. Yeah. And that's another...
The part of the Bronx that we were in wasn't the best part. Because I know people will say, oh, you know, there's some good neighborhoods like Riverdale and stuff. We didn't have Riverdale money. Like, we really didn't.
You know what money we had? We had Jackson Avenue.
Jackson Avenue money. That's exactly what we had. So I'm not like saying that places in the Bronx there are good places in the Bronx. Of course there are. But we went where we could afford, and we went where it was accessible to us. When we found that apartment in the Bronx, we were paying $1,000 a month for an apartment in New York. Yeah. So it was like we hit the jackpot. It was 30 minutes away from Simmons' job. So everything worked itself out.
This is 2016, right? So rents like that do not exist
anymore. Yeah. Unless you're renting a room. And even then, it's probably more than $1,000.
In a decent part of Brooklyn, a room is more expensive than that.
Yeah,
and that's
like
what
$1,400.
We're thinking like, okay, we can get an apartment in the Bronx for $1,000,
or share a room,
or share with somebody in like a reasonable part of Brooklyn for like $1,500. I'm like, I'm not gonna live in Williamsburg just to say I live there, you know?
Right. So, moral of the story is there are bad neighborhoods in every country, in every city. But it just so happened that we happened to live in many of them because we were broke. Right? We were broke college kids for most of our relationship, and that's another one of the reasons or the struggles we faced as a young married couple.
We're still kind of broke, honestly, so we're not there yet.
Watch them ads, people. Watch our ads.
But being college students is definitely challenging because we met towards the end of my bachelor's and the beginning of yours.
Yeah.
Right? And
I remember when you were graduating, your grandma came.
Yeah.
And it was 3 months into our relationship, and I was like, please don't let him invite me. Please don't let him invite me.
It was like 3 weeks into our relationship.
Is it?
We met in April. My graduation was like June, I think, or like late May. It was really early on.
It was early, and I'm like, no, I don't want him to invite me. But it would be nice if he did, because then that would show that he's kind of like serious. But I don't know his family yet, so I don't know if I want to go. Yeah. And you didn't invite me, and I was like so glad because it was too early.
Yeah, I thought I was conflicted in my mind.
By the way, did you think about it?
Yeah, no, I did. I'm like, okay, I have a girlfriend, and then there's my family. My grandma's coming to visit my family for the first time in like 5 years. I'm like, man, like, what am I gonna do? Introduce my grandma to a girlfriend I've had for a couple of weeks, and then like, say it doesn't work out. Yeah. By the way, my graduation was in Newark, another wonderful place in New Jersey.
But I can't believe you thought thought of inviting me?
Yeah.
Because Simis, he's so secretive. Like, his mom told me, oh, when you started dating with Simis, I knew he had a girlfriend, but he never wanted to admit it or anything. So I didn't even know that you thought of inviting me. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, SMP.
Yes, I finished my bachelor's, and then I shortly after the summer, I actually found a job, which I'm still at that company, but at a different position.
Right.
And a few years later, I got the opportunity to actually go for a master's.
Right.
And we're thinking, okay, I could do a master's in about 2 years, and you have about 2 years left of school.
Perfect.
Let's do this.
We're gonna be
Let's
done.
do this. I gotta deal with you studying for 2 years anyway. I'm gonna do my master's.
Yeah, because whenever I'm studying, because ever since I met Simis, I was in school. So I met Simis in 2015. I always get it wrong.
You got it.
I met him in 2015, and I was going to College of Staten Island at the time. So when I would come over to Simis's place, he would wake up because I had a Saturday morning class.
Oh my God.
He would wake up.
I forgot about that.
In the morning and take me to school in Staten Island from Jersey, which was closer for me. So Simis was dedicated from the beginning.
And guess what? I still walk you to the train every single morning.
Every morning. So I went from College of Staten Island and I transferred to another college in New York City to be closer to school.
Well,
in Queens. So then I started going to that school, and my program is intense. So when I come home, study. I rarely have time to be with Simis, and it made our relationship It made our relationship suffer a bit. I'm not gonna lie, because he wants attention and I want to pass my class, but he was pretty understanding, no lie. So it was a lot of compromises that we had to make where school was concerned.
I think it was easier for me to understand because I just finished my bachelor's. At what?
I never felt like Simis actually studied.
You knew me when I was like part-time in my last semester.
Every time I'd message Simis, he would have time to text me. When I'm studying,
Yeah,
I don't have time to text.
Because you don't care about me.
Stop lying.
Number 4 would be immaturity from both sides.
I thought you were saying that I'm immature because I'm so grown.
Listen, let me tell you guys, we met, I was 23 and you were 19.
Yeah.
So to me, like when I see people that age now, I'm like, they're kids. Like, look at them. They're like literally kids. And I was there just a few years ago. Mm-hmm. But there's a really big difference from the time I'm like 23 to now that I'm 29. And I know when I'm going to be in like my mid-30s and look back at the time I'm 29, I'm like, man, I was young, you know? And my dad would always tell me this. He'd be like, you're like 16 now? Wait till you're 20 and you look back when you're 16. And then like it's always like an evolving process. And you have to consistently grow, because if you think the way you did when you were 15, at like 35, there's a problem. You have to consistently grow. And I think we made a lot of progress in that.
We did, and financial literacy was one of the biggest progress we've made so far.
Right.
Well, not so far, but like one of the biggest and most important progresses that we made was to learn about finances, how to save and invest, and to like spend less. You know, it's.
Well, yeah, let me give you guys some examples of how finance, like understanding finances. Immigration, we never had to hire a lawyer for anybody in our family. Except when you guys first started. Mm-hmm. But then after that, immigration, we took care of ourselves. School tuition, we took care of ourselves. No more loans. Taxes, we file ourselves. We don't have to do any of that, right? Mm-hmm. We find that, like most apartments we found, there has not been a broker's fee except the one in the Bronx.
Right.
Which was like a desperation move, but that's before we were
that smart.
Yeah.
Like other things that we did was based on investing, we learned how to open up a broker's account. It might sound simple, but it was something we really had no idea about. Because
nobody in our family does it.
We learned and failed at investing when we just started. Yes. Then we picked it up and we started investing to see profits. Like,
yes.
So many things that happened that took maturity to happen. Like, it's crazy. But I wanted to say one thing I completely forgot.
Maturity? Immaturity.
Oh, immaturity. All right, yeah, let's talk about immaturity. I'm very immature, and I still am, and I probably will always be. Because, like, it's just a way of life for me. Like,
well, you go on our Instagram and watch her dance, right?
One reason why I think, because, like, I've never really lived without my mom before until I met Simmons. So when it was time to pack my stuff up and leave my mom's house and live with Simmons,
it wasn't that drastic. Don't paint a picture like, oh, mom, I'm leaving.
It wasn't that drastic. It slowly happened. It was gradual. It was very hard. It was not easy at all. And every time, like when I just moved in with Simmons, I would wake up looking for my mom still. Like I would feel like my mom is still there, or I'd miss my mom so much. Like I would, Simmons probably doesn't know this, but I would still cry like for my mom, and like I want my mom and my sister and I to live together again. Like I felt like that. But eventually, you know, it's life. You move on, you have your own kids, and I just wish I could take my mom along. Like when we get a house, I want her to live upstairs.
No, I want her to live like around the block. And she'd agree with me, you know that. She
wants her own space, but I want her in my space.
Nah, I'm good, man. Me and her, we have a mutual understanding that we respect each other and we also respect each other's space.
So you can't live with her?
No.
But you can't live without her cooking?
That's what I said around the block.
Oh, okay.
That's what I said around the block.
Alright.
I think every relationship at the end of the day is a compromise.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of work that needs to be put in.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny because recently yesterday I read this thing that couples, as they grow together, they actually complement each other's minds. So I think we're getting there where like you'll fill in the gaps that I'm missing, and then I'll do the same for you, and it's kind of like we're like molding to become one.
I don't know if I want to be one big blob of me and Simmons. Anyways, that's it for this video. And hopefully you guys enjoyed. And I'd love to hear your experiences of if you got married young or if you got married later in life, and how you think things went for your relationship.
Or if you didn't get married at all, like, or if you don't want to, you know.
Yeah, what is your view on marriage?
Exactly.